London, summer of 1553. The hot air shook over the paving stones. After a 10-day journey from East Anglia, a magnificent procession entered the capital. At the head was Mary Tudor, Henry VIII's eldest daughter. She walked not as a prisoner, but as a legitimate queen. On August 3rd, Mary triumphantly entered London. Flowers were thrown through the streets, decorated with scarlet carpets and golden tapestries. The people filled the houses, balconies, and rooftops. Thudding shouts merged with the ringing of bells.
"If God is with us, who is against us?"
Maria exclaimed. Thus ended the struggle for the throne, but there was a far more terrible struggle ahead, for the souls of the English. Mary was born on February 18th, 1516, at Greenwich Palace, the first surviving daughter of Henry VIII and Catherine of Aragon. Her birth was a celebration. England had finally found an heir, but the joy was overshadowed. Mary was a girl, and women were not yet destined to rule England. Catherine, a Spanish princess with an iron will, taught her daughter from childhood, "You were born to power. You are the rightful heir." Maria spoke Spanish and English from an early age, learned Latin, and studied government. At the age of 9, she was sent to Ludlow, the residence of the Princes of Wales. Her role there was symbolic but significant. Her father still saw her as a possible queen. But fate was preparing to strike. In 1528, Henry decided to divorce Catherine for the young and ambitious Anne Boleyn. The Pope refused. Then Archbishop Cranmer dissolved the marriage by order of the king. It was a personal disaster for Mary. She was stripped of her princess title, declared a bastard. Worse, sent to serve the newborn Elizabeth, daughter of Anne Boleyn. Anne openly humiliated Mary, ordered to call her damned bastard. Mary suffered, but did not renounce her mother and the Catholic faith. Her father did not intercede. What's more, he forbade her to see Catherine. In 5 years, they saw each other only once. In 1536, Catherine died. Heartbroken, Mary wrote to Emperor Charles V, pleading with him to help her escape to Spain. But fate turned again. A few months later, Anne Boleyn was executed. Maria saw a chance to reconcile with her father. She wrote him letters of repentance, but Henry demanded a humiliating condition: to recognize the king's supremacy in the church and her status as a bastard. Mary hesitated. Her conscience would not allow her to renounce. But under threat of execution, and to save her friends, she painfully signed the document. The price was heavy, but Mary gained a decade of relative peace. In 1547, Henry VIII died. A young Edward VI came to the throne. Mary inherited vast estates in East Anglia and enjoyed a quiet life, until the young king started a religious revolution. Edward wanted to make England a Protestant country. For Mary, the Mass, where bread and wine became the body and blood of Christ, was sacred. When the king forbade Mass, Mary refused to obey. She became a symbol of resistance. People, especially in the provinces, flocked to her for support. Emperor Charles offered her escape again. Twice he sent ships. But Maria steadfastly refused. She was convinced in her heart that she was destined to stay. 1553. Edward died. By his will, the crown was given to Lady Jane Grey. But the people knew that Mary was the true heiress. She gathered an army of 15,000 men and marched on London. As she advanced, Jane Grey's support melted. Even Protestants recognized that Mary was the rightful queen. When she entered London, the people sang, lit bonfires, bells tolled day and night. Tudor was back on the throne of England. The first thing Maria did was to overturn her father's decisions. The new law recognized her as the rightful heir, but there was still the question of marriage. The emperor proposed a son, Philip of Spain. The English protested vehemently. They didn't want a Spanish king. But Mary was convinced. God had chosen Philip. She prayed and swore that she would not marry unloved. In January 1554, a rebellion broke out. Thomas Wyatt raised an army of 3,000 to overthrow Mary and put Elizabeth on the throne. In the midst of the crisis, Mary appeared at the Guildhall and made a fiery speech to the people. "I am your rightful queen. With this ring, I am wedded to the kingdom. It will never leave my finger. I love you as a mother loves her child." The inspired people supported her. The rebellion was put down, and Elizabeth was sent to the Tower. On July 25, 1554, Mary married Philip in Winchester Cathedral. The 38-year-old queen dreamed of an heir. Writing to Charles V, "This marriage is the source of my happiness. I pray God to please my husband." But the Spanish regarded her with restraint. One courtier wrote, "She is a holy woman, but ill-dressed and ugly." Philip soon departed, leaving his wife to languish. In 1555, Mary happily announced her pregnancy. The joyous news spread through the palace. For England, the birth of a Catholic heir was momentous. According to ancient rites, the Queen retired to her chambers. They sewed clothes for the baby, prepared the cradle. The ladies prepared to witness the birth. But as the deadline passed, and there was no miracle, rumors multiplied. Some said the Queen had a tumor. Some said she was just blown about by the wind. Maria refused to believe it. Even when 11 months had passed, she insisted. "God's messenger said I was pregnant. He couldn't be wrong." But in August 1555, she left Hampton Court in silence. The pretense was over. Philip, disappointed, soon left. Mary sat at the window for hours looking out at the Thames, by which her husband was being carried away. Meanwhile, bonfires were burning in England. More than 300 Protestants were burned alive. Among them was Thomas Cranmer, whom Mary believed was responsible for her suffering. Even after his abdication, she insisted on his execution. Before his death, Cranmer raised his hand into the fire, the one that signed his abdication. The scene dealt a blow to the Queen's reputation. The people began to call her Bloody Mary. The years passed. Crop failures, epidemics, calamities undermined her position. Philip was rarely in England. Mary announced her pregnancy again in vain. By 1558, she was gravely ill. Doctors suspected cancer or a complication of influenza. On her deathbed, Mary finally admitted it. Elizabeth would be her successor, but she begged to keep her Catholic faith. In vain. On November 17, 1558, Mary died at the age of 42. Before she died, she dreamed of children singing like angels, but she never had a child of her own. After her death, Protestantism reasserted itself. Her husband barely mourned her. Mary's tomb is modest. Her name is lost next to Elizabeth's. Thus ended the life of Mary Tudor, the queen whom history has remembered as Bloody Mary.